Near the end of the 90s, mobility in Bogotá was immersed in chaos and disorder in terms of getting around. 80% of Bogotá's population used 5% of the lanes available, while 95% of the lanes were designed for private vehicles. The transportation system of the city at that time was based on a scheme of affiliated companies, had little planning, and was inefficient in terms of the routes. In addition, it was highly contaminating due to the large quantity of buses that were in circulation, some of which circulated with very few passengers. It was not well divided in terms of access and had low rates of coverage. Finally, it is worth mentioning that the working conditions of the drivers were precarious, with shifts that frequently had them working more than 10 hours a day. Faced with this situation, the district administration chose an innovative idea as the government flagship that would change the concept of mobility in the country. The wager on this new public transport system called Transmilenio would renovate the image of the city its inhabitants once held. It introduced a new model of management based on the awarding of public transport concessions that would be self-sustaining and efficient and able to move a good part of the population of Bogotá quickly and efficiently. The Transmilenio system sets up a private-public association in which a contractual relationship is laid out between a district managing entity, Transmilenio S.A., which is in charge of the planning, management, and control of the services of transportation. In addition, there are some operation concession companies which are responsible for the ticket fare collection and transport services in the main stations and the feeder buses. This includes the acquisition of the buses, their subsequent maintenance, and the setup of the technical support areas, among other things. Transmilenio is a trunk and feeder system which uses high-capacity articulated and bi-articulated buses along major streets with exclusive lanes. There is also a service of feeder buses, which are smaller buses, and which bring the users from the surrounding areas to the principal stations and head stations of the system. The Transmilenio system is a good example of a collaborative management in that it has been achieved through the bringing together of not only national governmental resources, but also those of the district, as well as those of private investors. All of this has been done with one objective: to improve the quality of the life of the inhabitants of Bogotá. This is the main reason that this system model has been replicated in other parts of the country and world. The state is, therefore, in charge of the construction of the infrastructure, the planning, management, and control of the system, whereas private companies, due to operating contracts obtained through public bidding processes, take charge of the operation of the system in the trunk lanes and feeder routes, as well as the fare collection system. All of the Transmilenio buses have a global positioning system, or GPS, which permits monitoring and regulating the routes from the control center. In this sense, and in terms of the environment, the system is leading the way with the application of new mass transit technologies. This has brought very positive consequences for the city. The money brought in by the system and collected by the businesses of the operation concessionaries of this service are distributed in accordance with a market which establishes the percentages set forth in the contracts for the transportation service operators, the fare collection operators, Transmilenio S.A. as the managing entity, and for the trust which manages said resources. In the case of the concessionaries and of the trunk and feeder buses, the resources received are invested in the acquisition and maintenance of the buses, as well as the adaptation and maintenance of the required standards for the technical support areas, among others. Regarding the subject of finances, it is worth mentioning that this system is self-sustaining, which means that unlike the majority of massive transit systems of the world, there is no subsidy for operations. This characteristic is highly recognized both nationally and internationally. Transmilenio has allowed for a better organization of the city and has reduced the time of arrival to the various destinations of the users, as well as improving the appearance of the city. It has also encouraged the use of alternate means of transport in the city, such as the bicycle. This has paved the way for the introduction of a network of bike paths of 300 kilometers and for 6 bike parking facilities in the main stations and the substations of the system. All of this has had a substantial impact on the city's air quality. In this way, it reduced the levels of contamination by nearly 40%, turning this into the first project whose methodology for the reduction of gas emissions, which cause global warming, to be certified by the Kyoto Protocol. In addition to this, it is important to highlight that thanks to the work done to increase roadway security, the system has contributed to the reduction of accident rates in Bogotá. To mention only one case, with the start of the operations on the Caracas Street route, accident rates were reduced by 80%. Transmilenio has turned Bogotá into a modern, organized, and more accessible metropolis, thanks to the technical experience and success of the system. This is another great achievement accomplished today by Transmilenio S.A., in accordance with that established in the Master Mobility Plan of the city. It will be the managing entity of the new integrated public transport system for the city. Therefore, it will lead a great transformation in public transport with the implementation of an organized network, which will bring many positive rewards for Bogotá. With the character and expertise that the company has come to be known by, it takes on the responsibility to guarantee more than 6 million trips a day, which represents nearly 85% of the mobility needs of the citizens of the city. Raising the quality service level provided today and improving the image of the city.